Joining us, Dewi.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and Sarah Hesse, co-owner of Salt Point Brewing Company. So I'm going to jump right into some questions, and we will, if anyone has an immediate follow-up question, feel free to raise your actual hand or virtual hand. And then I will pause after we've gone through a few questions and just see if there's anything, any questions from the group. And then we also will allow some time for questions at the end. But certainly if anyone feels like they want to engage as we're going through, that's what this is all about. So I'd like to just start out here with, we'll start perhaps with Dewi. Just please introduce yourself and tell us about your current business, how many employees you have, and then maybe anything you'd like to share about your customers.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Dewi Rainey, and I've owned Red Feet Wine Market and Spirit Provisions for 15 years now. We just celebrated our 15-year anniversary. I have one manager who works for me full-time, and she's been there with me since the beginning. And then I have 6 other staff members who all happen to be female right now, who work 20 to 30 hours a week. That's just the nature of my business. I need more people all at the same time. I kind of have like more of a crunch time than I do need, 9 to 5 kind of hours. Before I owned Red Feet, I owned Maxie's Supper Club and Oyster Bar and worked with Carly and Aaron. So I had that for 7.5 years. And there I had anywhere from around 35 employees, but sometimes it was ballooned up to 50. Lots of part-timers, but also plenty of full-time people and lots of younger people. So right now my staff has been with me quite a long time. I have the manager from day one. Another staff member started a month after we opened, so 15 years also. Another one, 14 years, maybe 7, 5, 3, 2. The last person I hired was 2 years ago. So I've been able to have good retention. My background and kind of starting, getting really interested in hospitality, customer service, and human resources began at the Four Seasons Hotel in Chicago, my first job out of college. And I've really taken so much of my philosophies from great customer service and really taking care of staff and having a professional work environment from my beginning experience there. And I just transferred it, even though it was very high end, as a 5-star, 5-diamond hotel, to casual dining or to retail.
Thank you, Dewi. And Sarah, would you like to share a little intro about your staff and customers?
Sure. My name is Sarah Hesse. I am co-owner. I have 2 business partners who own Salt Point Brewing with me. We have been open as a brewery for 4 years. A year and a half ago, we shut down our little tiny location next to the Rogues Harbor Inn in Lansing and purchased a 5-acre parcel right in downtown Lansing across from the town ball fields, where we built a 4,600 square foot new building and brew house and upscaled, pretty much everything to really be a community gathering space and just offer the Lansing community and the wider Ithaca community a bit of a different experience than we feel like was happening elsewhere. I have about 8 full-time equivalent employees. About 4 to 5 of them are full-time. I say 4 to 5 because I am currently working one of those positions, but would like to hire somebody into it, and then I could work just one full-time position and have somebody else in that position. So ideally 5 full-time, and then like Dewi said, we have crunch times as well. So a lot of part-time people that pop in for a couple of shifts a week to hold down my front end. So we opened in our new location almost exactly a year ago, and we've been kind of moving into a more of a restaurant model than we had in the past. We have 16 beers on tap that we brew all in house, and then we offer a menu of appetizers, baked goods, and sourdough pizza that is cooked in a wood-fired oven here on site. And that all kind of designed to complement our beer. We are a farm brewery, which means that we are committing to use a certain percentage of New York State grains and hops in every beer that we brew. Right now that percentage is 60%, but it's stepping up. And so we are really working with kind of what's available in New York and crafting our products around that. And we follow the same kind of philosophy and model in our kitchen. I try to get as much local as I can, either sourced through local companies or ideally directly from local farmers and producers. So we are the base of our menu is our sourdough pizza. The flour blend from the sourdough is primarily from Farmer Ground, which is right here in the area. And then we source some of our other flours from the wider New York State area, and then just a little bit of Italian flour to make it nice and light and fluffy for the wood-fired pizza oven. What else? My background is in industrial psychology, so I like have a degree in more of human resource function, and I have brought kind of that interest in creating a work environment for my employees that is productive, supportive, and fulfilling for my employees. That's a big part of kind of what motivates me to do what I'm doing.
Thanks, Sarah. Also makes me want pizza for lunch now. You really described that
tacos
well.
Today. It's tacos today. You want tacos?
Oh, Tuesday. Yes. Well, great to hear about some of your kind of values there in sourcing too. And I think that tees up the next question a bit. If you could share, like, what's your vision for your employees and customer interaction as part of your brand?
Are you asking me, Erin? Or
either one of you.
Okay. Okay. Well, so our customers range from 21 years old to 80 plus, and we have a lot of neighborhood clients and repeat clients. We have tourists, we have locals, we have students, and no matter what we do, we really try to have this very warm, hospitable environment, kind of like a restaurant actually, and taking that into the retail environment where we're not really selling and upselling as much as we're servicing. We have somebody greet you at the door very quickly and kind of like give you a little tour the same way a host would in a restaurant, but it's a retail store. And one of the things that I've always believed in is having very strong standards. So whether that's speed or verbiage that you say, or how quickly you answer the phone, your approach to client problems, knowledge, education, there are standards for all of those things, which you're trained on from the time that you're hired. And that's an important foundation of my entire business. And I think one of the things that really sets us apart. So our clients generally grow to really trust us and look to us to make life more convenient, make shopping easier. They make decisions all day. They're very, happy sometimes to hand it over to somebody else. We keep the selection really dynamic and, really try to listen to our clients. And another thing that I really believe in, which I know has been hard for many employers during the pandemic, is that we have always had plenty of staff on hand. I run kind of higher labor costs. I always have, even at Maxie's, we ran high labor costs, but we have enough staff working to deliver our standards and also to reduce stress. I mean, that can be so difficult in a restaurant nowadays because people are realizing they're on the front lines and their jobs are really pretty difficult. So, but in the retail situation, I think it's a lot more sustainable to make sure that you have plenty of people working, so that the workload is good and the client experience is strong, even in the busiest times. We have a kind of a steadier flow maybe than Sarah was talking about, how when the patio's open, she's good weather, and then her seating is greatly expanded, or if it rains, it's reduced. So unfortunately, that's a lot harder. But we can look at historical records, and we do after 15 years, and it's pretty clear what we need, and we make very detailed notes each day that we refer back on in order to staff, properly. But yeah, speed, efficiency, and professionalism, being supportive, really pampering the client. That's that's the core of what we do, and education, and also I hire people who are very interested in food and travel and other cultures, and it's a whole. Our philosophy is very strongly based around food, especially with me coming from the restaurant background. So I kind of bring that in there too, so that it's not just about wine, it's about food pairing and helping, exchanging recipes and telling other people what's worked, for us, or how to use wines that will, enhance their cooking. So.
Dewi, if you don't mind, a follow-up question. Could you give an example of even how you've adapted your application to sort of fit those expectations you have?
My job application?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always believed in having a targeted application for your job instead of something that's very generic. And so the application, and it was the same way at Maxie's. I spend a lot of time on availability because I feel that's super important to a staff member's happiness. We'll talk about it for so long in the interview because I don't want any confusion or misunderstandings later. And I hire specifically to fill certain slots, and I don't have trouble getting them because I'm very clear from the beginning. Like, I can find someone we're open 7 days a week, who will want to work every Sunday because that's when they're free. And a lot of these staff members have other things going on, like I make jewelry, or I'm a yoga teacher, or I'm a stay-at-home mom or some of the time, or whatever. And then I have the staff member rate themselves in different categories, whether it's wine and spirit knowledge, speed and accuracy, honesty, reliability, teamwork, employee relations. And people are very honest. And also you get some insight into how they feel about themselves and their own self-esteem. Some people are really humble. They know quite a bit, but then they'll just give themselves like a 3 out of 4 in wine and spirit knowledge because they want to learn so much more. Then there are some questions that are very specific, like, are you willing to, carry 40 pounds, repeatedly all day long and bend, and are you comfortable with feedback from managers, because we give constant feedback, and I'll ask that too in an interview, like, do you have any problem if I am continually helping tweak things, because that's kind of how we work, and I just like to see what people say. There's like a little, not really a quiz, but there's kind of some questions that there's no right or wrong answer, but I just like to see what people drink, what people cook, if they're vegetarian or vegan. Maybe they might have to explain to me how they would help somebody who was wanting to find a wine to pair with lamb or a meat dish. Some pairing questions, lots of things that are specific to their wine background. Do they like to entertain? What kinds of things do they prefer to cook, stuff like that. And it just makes the interview so much, like, for me to bring someone in to interview, I'm already not wasting my time because I already know so much. And then we do 2 interviews. So my the manager who's worked with me, who's just wonderful, she will oftentimes target all of the things that I forgot to ask or that I felt a little uncomfortable about, or maybe we just didn't get around to, or something that needs more delving into. And so by the time she interviews them, I'll kind of have thought about what went on, and I get a second opinion, because sometimes you really want to like somebody, but maybe you're stretching a little too far, and there's like that little something in the back of your mind that doesn't feel quite right. And I feel really comfortable just passing that on to her and having her investigate that. So the entire hiring process from the beginning is just like a huge part of it, because it's my team is expecting me to bring on somebody who will work well with them and will grow with them and who can live up to everything we believe in.
Thank
That
you.
they're going to spend time on. They're going to spend a lot of time training this person. In fact, I even pay more when you're training. You get paid more per hour because you're talking a lot, and you're expending a lot of energy. You might be slowed down by the other person, and that way nobody is bummed out about training either.
Well, I also remember training at Maxie's, and we were able to select anything off the menu for dinner that night. That was very exciting.
I didn't even remember that.
It's true. And rather than feeling daunted by training, like, you look forward to it. Well, thank you for those examples. Sarah, back to you. What, I guess, kind of stepping back, of what's your vision for that employee customer interaction as part of your brand at Salt Point? And then along those lines, if you want to talk at all about your hiring process, feel free to connect that.
Sure. Our approach is pretty different, I think, than a lot of other places. I see our role here as just kind of holding space for community to create their own experience. We do guide that, but we're counter service. We don't have servers coming up to tables. We have, seating inside that is 4 tops and 2 tops, and, a kind of traditional setup for a restaurant. We also have seating outside that's larger picnic tables. We have rocks, we have fire pits and Adirondack chairs. And my approach is really to kind of have my staff just kind of hold the space for the people that come in, help them to understand what we're offering, and then let them kind of approach it and receive it in the way that is comfortable for them. So that looks like, for my front end staff, obviously an in-depth knowledge of our beers. We do get a lot of, beer nerds coming in and wanting to know, what kind of hops are in this, how many dry hops. What are the New York State ingredients? Where are they coming from? And so they do kind of have notes on those, really technical aspects of what we're offering, but then also to be able to speak to the local wines that we're offering, the cocktails we're offering, how they pair with the menu, what ingredients are in the food. So really just like almost like a like if you were going to go to a house party at somebody's house and talk to the host in a informal way about what's being offered. That's kind of our approach all around, and it allows for a pretty vast variety of experiences for my customers, in terms of like date night for a couple, or a play date get together with 4 families and a bunch of kids running around outside and blankets on the grass and pizza picnic. So that's kind of my philosophy on, how we serve our customers. And my staff is trained to, like I said, speak to the menu, the ingredients, but also just kind of help guide the customers into creating their own experience, which took a little bit of training of the customers from the traditional restaurant experience, since we're really not, approaching tables and kind of offering that kind of a service. In terms of hiring, I do a lot of the same things that Dewi mentioned in terms of kind of just getting a sense of the employee or the perspective, the candidates' personal interests, what drives them, what motivates them, what they're interested in outside of work. Availability is a big thing as well. Obviously, we have lots of different shifts and needs, and so making sure that that fits comfortably within the candidate's schedule is going to be critical, so that we can have our shifts covered and they're having their needs met. I really try to obviously hire for skill, but a lot of what we're doing is very trainable. So I'm looking for fit with my current staff and the culture of the organization that I'm trying to create. And just really making sure that I hire in people that are going to really just be all about lifting everybody else up around them as well as themselves, because that's the kind of business that I want to have. The front end is easy to hire for. Lots of people want to pour craft beer, and it's real fun and high energy, and the kitchen is very challenging to hire for. The hours are long, the work is hot and stressful when it's sunny outside. And so that's been a really big challenge. I was very fortunate to be able to move from our small location to our new building with a core set of staff members who are completely amazing and really just go above and beyond every day for the business, and they hold down the fort for sure. Filling in around them has been challenging, and it's this is a tough labor market for kitchen work. Even though, like Dewi mentioned, I also run high payroll costs. I do that intentionally. I believe that if I can't pay my employees a wage that's comfortable for them, then there's not a point in me being in this business. And I know that that's different than a lot of other restaurant models, but I'm really I really feel strongly about making sure that my staff is comfortable and feels like there's room for advancement and are compensated for their efforts.
We have one question that maybe would be a good time to answer if either of you would like to, or both. Allie asked, do you, when hiring, do you feel a specific shift or state this from the start and keep the focus? Do you shift existing folks to meet those needs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we make our schedule monthly, and this works really, really well for us. So our staff members pretty soon will give me their availability for June. It might, it's going to go from Monday to Sunday, so it might take a few days into July, depending how the month falls. They can tell me that they're not available because they have a wedding, or they want some time off, or, they want to switch, maybe how much they work, although I do encourage them to tell me that for any time in advance. Like if they are going to change, from, let's say, 5 shifts a week to 3 or something, they can tell me anytime. I will always hold their job for them. And so there is quite a bit of shuffling. Yes, if somebody had told me in the interview that they wanted to work on, Sundays and Wednesdays and Fridays or something, that would be the understanding. But we would have talked quite a bit about whether they were flexible to do other things and how it would work during Thanksgiving and Christmas. I ask a lot of questions. Where does your family live? Do you go back and visit them? Will you see them over the holidays? I also believe that, we don't give a ton of vacation here in the United States, like 6 weeks vacation or anything, but people are welcome to take any time off that they want to unpaid. And we offer vacation as well after you've worked here a certain time. And some of it's like for our store manager, she gets 4.5 weeks a year. Plus there's sick pay and things like that. But in general, I think this really helps with the sustainability. I've had so many staff members who have had babies, gone on maternity leave, come back. I have had a child myself, and I know that your thoughts of what you want to do as a mother later may not be what happens down the line. So I keep that very, clear in my mind that it's okay, and that they're welcome back, in good standing. As long as we just keep communicating about it. And if they need to keep deferring, that's okay. I have a staff member who just bought a home in Mexico, a second home, and she's going to be gone January, February, and March of next year. I'm so happy for her. She will be welcome back in April because she's amazing, and it's actually my slowest time, so it's perfectly fine. She's going to, work the busy times. So when we do the schedule, I kind of keep myself as sort of an extra person. And it sounds like Sarah does this too, but now she's, in an actual hole that she's needing to fill. And it's pretty rare that I don't have what I need. And especially now with COVID and the fact that any moment somebody could be out for, 5 days or more. And we're not an office job, so it's not like their paperwork's just stacking up. We still have to have a certain number of bodies in the store. So I kind of staff a little heavy in the beginning. Nobody really likes their hours to be cut. Like, can you go home early? You would think, but there are a few people who do. So maybe if you drive from further away, like Montour Falls, then you want to do a whole 7 or 8 hour shift. But if you live like right downtown and you're not really only in it for the money, you're fine. Like, oh, it's a beautiful day. Okay, I'm cool to go home. And then I can always step in. So last week we had someone who had tweaked her back and she missed 2 days of work unexpectedly. And then another person, her daycare provider, wasn't able to take her son because she got sick. She didn't have COVID, but she was sick. So, and that was not even stressful. We just slid things around. Somebody came in a little bit early. I came in, and we were a little bit overstaffed, so it was all fine. And I think keeping that stress level down is so vital to, the happiness of the whole crew, making sure clients still have the people that they need. And sometimes when I submit the schedule to be checked by the manager, she says, I feel like we're overstaffed here. And, sometimes we adjust, but a lot of times, especially now, we leave it because we just don't know what's going to happen. But like I said, I am lucky that I don't, I'm not searching for someone right now. If you need 3 or 4 or 5 people, then this is kind of, difficult it's not easy. I understand that.
Thank you. All right, Sarah, I'm going to ask you now, what have you found either in your current business or previous experience that has motivated employees? And also, do you, as we look ahead, do you sense that some of those things that have motivated people in the past is changing at all?
Yeah, so what I think, for me, what I think motivates employees and motivates them on a daily basis, as well as motivates them to, really see their work at Salt Point as more than, just a part-time position, or more than just a, while I'm in college or while I'm, doing other things before I go do XYZ. Is I really look for an alignment of personal, as Dewi talked about as well, as personal beliefs and just general standards with what we're trying to do here. And I find that my core group of employees, we all hold the same kind of belief about providing an experience that that is different, using the local ingredients. They have a sense of pride in offering what we're offering, and then kind of larger than that, kind of that sense of team accountability and team support. And I find that those two things are really, really critical in terms of keeping people up and motivated. I don't have the luxury of overstaffing for the most part. It's an interesting, it's an interesting kind of flow. I could overstaff on my front end with, the people that are pouring the beers behind the bar. But the end result of that is then the food tickets go in faster and then the food takes longer because the kitchen gets more backed up. So it's a really interesting kind of modulation of, keeping that front end moving at a consistent pace so that people don't feel like they're standing in line forever, but also kind of evening the flow into the kitchen so that we can, meet expectations in a way that feels workable for the kitchen staff as well. I do a lot of reverse engineering since I don't have the luxury of overstaffing my kitchen, for example. We look at, what are we offering on our menu? How can we make it, how can we streamline both the menu and the process of delivering the food in a way that, makes it efficient and also feels doable for the people that are working the kitchen. So it's kind of that reverse engineering that we're constantly doing. Every season we're looking at, we have a little extra time this winter. Let's add, some things to the menu that we can, crank out on Saturday mornings, and it'll be fun and kind of bring a different level of interest. But then, come spring and summer, we're going to have to dial those things back. We're going to have to make sure that our prep, our menu is reasonable on the prep level because we're doing twice as much volume. So we have to, just be sure that we can all have the physical hours in the day to do all the knife work that needs to happen to get the, the food on the plates. So that's kind of how I approach the employee kind of stress situation. This is a very stressful industry, especially in high volume times. I'm very aware of that. So I try to do a lot of just lifting my staff up on a daily basis, telling them they're awesome when they're doing awesome, encouraging them when things are a little rocky, stepping in, comping some beers if I have to, smoothing things over, just to make sure that they leave at the end of the night, and we all leave at the end of the night with our heads held high, feeling like we did the best we could, and that we delivered what we were, something that's to our standard. My crew has high standards of themselves, which is awesome, but also when you get totally crushed on a Friday night when the sun is shining, and then you leave feeling like somebody waited a little too long for their food or had to come back and ask about their ticket, that feels a little less than ideal. So we try to kind of spend time debriefing at the end of the night. If there's anything that we saw that went wrong that we can, fix in the future, we'll talk about that together over a beer or kombucha or whatever, and just try to really leave feeling like, even if things didn't go perfectly, we are providing ourselves and each other with the resources to do better next time in whatever way we see we can do that. And then I rely, because I don't work the front end a lot, I rely on my front end staff who are, kind of that interface to tell me what didn't work for them, what did they see going wrong, were people confused about this or that, how can we kind of alter that tomorrow or in the future so that we can deliver the experience that we're trying to deliver in a way that feels comfortable for everybody. For me, that's a big part of employee motivation. It's not that things aren't going to be stressful, because they are. It's just how we can hold each other up in those stressful moments, and then how we can kind of learn from those and grow from those. And then if we have to adjust what we're offering on the back end to be able to meet, the high volume Friday nights in the summer, we do that as much as possible.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like you're spending a lot of time listening to your team as well.
Yeah, and they know, they know, they see the problems, they know what solutions might work, and that for me is incredibly important. And I just feel lucky to have people that I can, say, hey, what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to fix this? And they all have great ideas, and they'll rearrange things as they see fit. And I try to give them, I think another thing too is that the empowerment for them to kind of talk amongst themselves and figure out these solutions. And then they'll come to me, like my chef came to me yesterday. He's like, hey, I want to change this around here in the kitchen. I want to move this table. I want to move this sink. We got to, you know, repipe this drain. What do you know, I think the flow will be better. And I said, great, let's do it. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Dewi, you gave some great examples of scheduling and some flexibility that you allow. I guess bringing that question back again, is there anything that you'd like to add as far as what you're finding motivates employees now, kind of in your previous work? And then also, have you sensed anything changing since the pandemic and looking ahead?
Yeah, so motivation, I thought about this and I think of 5 things that really came to mind. And one of them, of course, you know, pay and benefits are really important, but it's surprisingly, I think is not the most important thing. I mean, it might be why someone takes a job, and they might stay because of health insurance that their family needs or something like that. And we have other benefits that I think, you know, make you feel, you know, more part of the ownership of the place. But so this schedule is one thing, and also, you know, being able to take long vacations and do things like that. So that's one. Having standards and systems in place to make the job make sense, so that you know your team is going to pull their weight. You know that if someone is not maybe at their best, or if there are problems, that management is going to address them, and they'll be quickly corrected and brought back to the standard, because the standard is there for everyone to kind of ground themselves in. And so having those standards and systems, there are less mistakes, which means your job is more pleasant. You know, it's everything just makes more sense, and you can have, you know, more pride in what you do, and everyone else is performing at their top level. Another thing I think is really listening and improving. Sarah talked about this, based on staff members' feedback. So if somebody's always telling me, you know, things and I'm not doing anything about it, then they're going to stop telling me, and my business won't improve as much, and they're not going to feel as much you know, connection, and they'll just be more frustrated. You know, you've all had those jobs where you go home and you're like, oh my gosh, if this were different, or if I were running it, it would be. So like, I have one staff member who's always the person who tells me when things are broken, or we should, you know, buy this little tool or this little thing that would make things better. Or she goes through the website all the time, because she's maybe taking some of the pictures. I mean, everybody helps with this, but says, you know, hey, this button doesn't link. There's not another way to find spirits. And I make note of it. And like that next day, or that right then, I'm already emailing the graphics, website company to, you know, explain these things and ask for changes, and I copy her and everything. She knows that her feedback is valued, and that we can improve as a company, you know, based on that. And so I think continuing to create more tools based on the feedback of our staff and really listening to them is important. Then pay and benefits. We do things like, you know, they have a certain amount of comp wine per month, depending how many hours they work. They have an employee discount, of course. They have 2 people each, or 2 families, that they can give 25% off to all the time. So that's, you know, like somebody special in their lives, good friend or whatever. They could do it for a year and then stop and choose somebody else, you know, and so that's kind of nice. But, you know, another thing, like Sarah said, is the staff knowing that they can fix people's problems, and that money is not really concerned in this. Like if somebody didn't like the wine, they just don't like it, it's fine. We'll take it back. You can choose something of the same value, or maybe even more if it was an inconvenience, but you know, you have that, you're empowered to take care of those things. Involving staff in, you know, helping choose products, and, you know, motivating them with, you know, extra bottles or things like that when they do a good job. We have a bonus system that's based on not just our sales quarterly, but we also have another bonus that's lower, that's comp wine. So if we don't make it to the big goal, then there's still this other thing where you get to drink really nice wine, and you get a $25 bottle every week that we get to this base level. I don't feel that drives people as much as you would think. I mean, we can only do what we can do, but it's more of a reward, and to make sure that everyone on staff is drinking nice wine and they're not just, using their comp to get like maybe some $12 bottles that they're going to take to the lake or whatever. And the last thing is really the work culture, making sure that we're obviously respectful. And I think another thing about it is really, especially after a long time with the same staff, recognizing what each person is good at, and then really encouraging that specialty and kind of exploiting their talents. They're definitely, I could go through each one of my staff members and say, this person is like amazing at this, and this person's amazing at this. And I mean, we all have to do everything, but we all sort of recognize more and more that if you let that person do what they're really good at, they're going to be happiest. So, everybody sort of even jokes around about it and knows that this person's going to do more of the graphics or going to tweak this little problem. And, just having fun and having a great work culture. We also have amazing clients, and I think we get a lot back from the fact that we do see people regularly and form relationships with them, and so it's fun to work there. Even in the restaurant, it was the regular clients that were the ones that really gave you the energy back because they're friends. And so, those are a few of the things that really come to mind as motivators for staff. Has it changed over time? Well, during the pandemic, I would definitely say that it was extremely important to our staff that they were kept safe. And there were different viewpoints about what that meant. And overall, I would say 7 out of 8 felt one way and 1 felt a little differently. And so I actually put out a really detailed survey that was shared with them, but with no names or anything, and kind of like tallied up all kinds of really in-depth questions. And we did close the front of the store for, I think, 10 weeks, and we reopened during the time that restaurants reopened because we have this high-touch customer service, so we are a little bit more like a restaurant. So that was important, and I had to make a couple of decisions that cost me some money when I had a couple of staff members who were just uncomfortable with a certain situation that happened with exposure. I mean, nobody got COVID, but just everyone was so afraid, in the beginning. And I literally paid someone to stay home for a week because that's what made everybody else comfortable. And it cost me like, I don't know, $700 or something to make this decision. And I was like, that's fine because everybody's happy. And this is the only way to make everybody happy. And the one person who stayed home was like, I can't even believe this, that you're doing this. And I just, I was glad that I did. But it almost seems ridiculous now, But at the time, it was really, really heavy. And they were really looking to myself and the manager to keep them safe and to be concerned and be aware. And every person had different, needs in this way.
Dewi,
so I really had to balance them.
Yeah. In that example, did you say you surveyed staff internally and then you actually shared the survey results with everyone?
Yeah, I shared the survey results and I shared quotes from it, but didn't say who said it, little phrases.
To let everyone know.
Of things people weren't traveling, and what if they did, and then staying in a hotel, and what did other people want to work with them afterwards? I think I've tried to erase it from my mind because it was.
But that is, I think that's
back to that time now,
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that you actually shared those survey results with your small team. It wasn't just for your own review. And certainly speaks to like letting everyone understand the nuance of the time.
Yeah.
um,
We got through it, you know. I mean, everybody did, right? It was about so much adapting, as we all know, during that time. And we were like creating new systems like mad. Just this form is new, and we're going to be doing this, and we're going to alphabetize these people, and they're going to be pickups. And, you know, everybody was, I mean, when you came into work, it was like there are like 5 new things since the last time you worked. And so, yeah, we were all adapting, but everybody was, you know, great.
Yeah. And does anyone have any questions for Dewi and Sarah? I have a couple more, but I want to open it up if anyone would like to ask any follow-up questions or.
Question. Like Dewi mentioned, both Aaron and I we started our careers at Maxi as very young and out of college. And we were both elevated from front of house server bartender positions to management roles. And that was something that was really formative. I'm not going to speak for Aaron, but she and I are both in this room. But for me, that was a really formative moment in my career. I think, Dewi, you were the one who was like, you know what you would be really good at is human resources. And, you know, that puts you on a path. And so I'm wondering, I'd love to hear from both of you what you really look for and like what you're looking for in a person when it comes to sort of elevating them to a next position and inspiring them to, you know, make hospitality or service a career, or really, you know, make that commitment to them and bring them up with you.
You want to go ahead, Sarah?
Sure. I guess I look at what kind of skill sets, but also personal interests the employee brings, whether they are comfortable kind of being more of a manager, you know, delegating work, kind of seeing bigger picture. It's flowed pretty naturally for me in terms of who's kind of moved up to those positions of more, you know, responsibility in terms of managing others. Some people just are not like personality wise that comfortable with a management role. And so, you know, I try to just make sure that I'm honoring what feels comfortable in terms of the interactions with the other crew members. I don't have, in terms of actual positions, I don't really have a huge hierarchy. I have, you know, one front end manager and one chef, and we, you know, the rest is kind of everybody, as Dewi mentioned too, kind of contributes according to their interests, their skill levels, their availability, their life experience. And that's flowed pretty naturally for us. We do, I think my biggest approach is try to be sure that the interests of my employees are being met by the work that they're doing. One example would be that, you know, I have one of my full-time front end staff who also really enjoys the brewing experience. He loves the process. He's interested in what goes into it. He finds it informational and educational to kind of be part of that process so that he can speak to it when customers come in and are asking questions or want a tour of the brew house. So, you know, while we don't need that help particularly in the brewing process all the time, we'll regularly bring him in and let him come to brew day and just participate in that experience, so that he feels like his experience is you know, kind of rounded in a way that allows him to offer the product in our front of house in a way that feels authentic and informed for him. So that's kind of an example of kind of how I approach it. And we are small enough that I can kind of be a little more free flowing with that. I currently have a high school student who's been doing dishes for us for the last year. And I think he has aptitude for kitchen work. He's a little shy. But my chef is a, younger male who he looks up to. And so we're working on pulling him into kind of more of a kitchen role. He's not going off to college next year. And so we're just trying to, suggest that he has an opportunity to move up into maybe even pizza making, which is kind of the most skilled part of what we of our kitchen work. So I just, for me, it's important to make sure that that employees are feeling seen in their skills and abilities, also their weaknesses. If there's areas where they're just really not comfortable, either we can work on more training or more information to make it more comfortable, or maybe we can rearrange a little bit so that, maybe Friday night's not your gig. Maybe Saturday morning is your gig. And so, just making sure that everybody really feels empowered and has the tools that they feel like they need to be able to do the job up to our standards and also their standards, and in a way that kind of holds everybody and their individuality. So that's, I think in terms of advancement, that's kind of how it's gone for me. And yeah, it's worked out pretty well.
I would say on this subject, I mean, I haven't done it for a long time because I've had, the same amazing person with me. But if you're going to be promoted into management, being a great example already of that job that you do is important. So you're going to take someone who's kind of like a star at it. And I think whether somebody really wants to learn a lot more and that they are ready for this challenge to be like they're into getting feedback and they're into growing and they're into studying maybe, and they're willing to go that extra mile. You already know that. Now, I don't think everybody naturally is good at just at managing other people. It's definitely another skill. But if they're open to learning how to deal with those difficult conversations, then you've got somebody who's got a great attitude and everything, then great. If they're not comfortable having those tough conversations, then I think you'd want to go a little slower about bringing them into management, because they have to get comfortable with really being honest and truthful. And I have learned that you really have to listen in any weird situation. You really have to listen first, and then you might have some ideas about what you think that you're going to decide or what needs to happen. But if you say, hey, this happened, tell me what was going on, or tell me what happened in your words or whatever. You've got to be able to kind of navigate the situation from there on. And so to take someone and bring them into that, I think it's got to be step by step. They've got to be sitting in on these things, and they've got to be able to receive a lot of feedback from you to say, okay, we've got to make sure next time that we talk to the person right away. Like, it's got to be within 24 hours. So if needed, we need to bring the person in on their day off, or we'll need to call them at home or something so that this gets taken care of. And then they'll be like, yeah, I got it. I see where that didn't work out to talk 4 or 5 days later. It was like way past the situation or whatever. So you're going to have to like coach this junior person into that part, which might be about the hardest part. And maybe the same thing with like having a business sense, because being a really good waiter or something like that is a little bit different than looking at reports and numbers and costs and inventory and creating systems and everything. So I think you've got to be seeing some of those hints already that the person is interested in that stuff, and maybe you've given them some other tasks, as some kind of supervisory role, and you've seen that they've been able to rise to that already, and then you can kind of expand on that. And then when you have someone amazing, they'll just keep improving, and then you can say, oh my God, I never even thought of that, and now we'll build on top of that, and it just is amazing. But learning the kind of business sense. And there are lots of people, I love teaching someone who doesn't know, I love teaching QuickBooks because that's something you can take, into the future, or Excel or something. That's like just so much fun to like, give this person a skill that they might have to go and take a class on. And that's, maybe they work with you for 3 years and then they go on to do something really great afterwards and take that skill. But that's maybe what they get back from it besides, the promotion. But yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the question, Carly? Okay.
Thank you. I also wanted to touch on, we have a few more minutes here. We, looking at places of employment, you have part-time people, full-time people. I think this question could be applicable for people that also have a lot of volunteers. I know at the CVB and Chamber, we're working hybrid right now. So we're in the office a few days a week, we're working from home. And I guess I'm curious if you've had any technologies that you use for employee communication that you may have implemented that's been helpful in improving processes or just sharing internal updates in technologies, or maybe it's a very low tech solution that you have found effective. But I know that it seems like more than ever, keeping that consistent internal communication in some of the even both more formal updates and even some informative kind of team just collaboration. I feel like it's ever challenging in all workplaces right now.
Go ahead, Sarah. Oh, is her audio on?
For kind of interstaff communication, we did kind of collectively launch a more comprehensive website that kind of just pulls everything that we're offering together. I was really fortunate to have a staff member who was not comfortable in the tap room when COVID shut us down, and so she moved to remote work and had, fortunately for me, all of the skills to help us build a more expanded website with online ordering, which got us through COVID and also helped us put out what we were offering to a larger audience than we needed to when we were doing seats at the bar. We use a POS system that allows my employees to kind of go in and see what's different and also log their own hours in there. That helps everybody. And then, if they forget to clock out, they get a notification and then they can text me, and that makes it kind of more streamlined from everybody's perspective.
I think Sarah just cut out. There we go.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
You cut out for just a moment,
it says
but now
my
you're back.
connection is unstable. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, cutting out now. All right. Maybe we will pause and have Dewi jump in on that question.
Okay, yeah, we're pretty low tech too, but we do use a logbook, which Carly and Aaron were aware of too. So when you first come into work every shift at Red Feet, after you clock in, the first thing you do is read the logbook back to the last time you worked, and we put everything in there that we can think of, like everything that's changing and everything that's broken and needs to be fixed and everything that happened with the flow of clients. And that way we're just able to just hit the ground informed. And so that's one of our tools. I do send out an email every 2 weeks that's got a little bit of new information, but mostly we, are able to update each other, on shifts. So there's not necessarily a ton. If there's a new process like that's kind of complicated and multi-step, then I'll put out a memo and everybody has to sign it. And that way I know everybody's, read it. And I don't use any like really high-tech tools other than, Google or whatever to share the schedule And, most of the time, the manager and I are just like texting constantly, and it's kind of low tech. It's such a small team, and we all are in the same space. So I'm afraid I can't offer tons of insight on great tech tools.
Your logbook is updated each day. There's an entry.
So we have in there the sales of last year on that date, the number of clients, the average check, and then like any reminder that we had, like few days from now we're going to do this, or this thing's going to start, or this person needs to be charged, or whatever. It just prevents every type of mistake. There's so much communication. I really believe that there's hardly any such thing as over communication, because every time I don't say something that I wanted to say, then when a mistake happens, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was going to say that and I didn't. And I just tell myself I'm not going to go there again. And so, this was about elevating customer service with employees. And so I think that communication and the lack of mistakes is a lot of what makes a business professional. And it's so simple, really, as long as you're keeping everybody on the same page and everybody knows what's going on, you can avoid the mistakes, and you can, look professional and elevate customer service. So yeah, that's just the goal all the time.
Thank you. And Sarah, you had a little cutout. Is there anything you wanted to add? You were mentioning your point of sale system.
Yeah, my apologies. My internet here is a little lacking. Yeah, just to kind of round out what I was saying. We also do look at analytics. My whole staff, a lot of times at the end of the night, we'll kind of look at it together and see, when was our busiest hours? Were we adequately staffed? How can we, look forward to tomorrow or next week, depending on the day of the week. And then we'll, my management crew will look more at like monthly information too, there's really no predicting this business. There's no predicting the weather, but we do try to kind of get our heads around, what was selling a lot, what was selling at what times, and just try to get a sense for the rhythms of the business. Appetizers and snacks go on Friday nights and Saturdays, not so much on Wednesday nights, or, family dinners on Wednesday nights. So that kind of helps us to inform, what kind of prep we have to do to make sure that we're ready for the day. And then we have a whiteboard in the back that's very low tech, but it helps keep us all in line. I have my staff, since I have several part-time people, if they see anything that needs to be re-upped, supplies or prepped items or, to-goes or whatever, it gets written down there. That helps me when I'm not here to be able to come back the next morning and know kind of where it was left off, even though I wasn't, necessarily the one cleaning up at night. And then we also make an effort to have a quote of the day, which is really an attempt to just kind of make each other laugh and let each other in on our headspace or what, where we're going for the day. And it's often like last couple weeks ago, we had a Taco Tuesday that was, a beautiful sunny day, and we all walked in going like, yeah, we're gonna get nailed tonight and we're gonna crush it, and we got to keep each other up. And so my manager forget what her quote was, but it was like something like, we've got a bad case of the sunny days or something like that. So it's like, yep, sunny day, we're all in it together. We're gonna just do our best to hold each other up. We know we're gonna get slammed and we're gonna rock it. So it's kind of a little bit of both, but that whiteboard really kind of holds us all up, and then it helps me to kind of fill in the gaps when there's like actual things that need to get dealt with. So
wonderful. And does anyone have any additional questions they would like to ask Sarah or Dewi? It's like we're toward our end. All right. Well, I really appreciate both of your time. I guess for just something fun closing, coming from my perspective with Visit Ithaca and tourism marketing, I do kind of want to end if there's any in your own travels, recently or in the past, if there was any positive customer service experience that really kind of stood out to you or inspired you. If either of you have an example you'd like to share, we can kind of close on that. And
Yeah, I have two that, I mean, one good and one bad, and they really do stick in your mind. So years ago, when my son was a toddler, my husband and I went to Key Biscayne, Florida, and we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton, which was like a big spend for us. But we dropped our son off with his grandparents in another part of Florida, and then we drove there, and we were checking in, and they said, "Oh, are you celebrating any kind of special occasion or anything?" And we said, "Oh my gosh, we're parents of a toddler, and we haven't, gotten, time to ourselves in so long, and we just want to like watch a movie or something and just relax." And so anyway, we had a great time. We spent a lot of time at the property, but we went out to dinner, on property at one point, and we came back to our room. The room there was this humongous, I think it was a table and then a whole nother cart, and they were covered with everything having to do with like movie snacks. There were just so much junk food that it was, impossible for two people to eat. There were the big red and white popcorn, things overflowing, and every kind of candy you could think of, and these movie tickets and a card just saying, enjoy a movie of your choice on us. And it was just so sweet. And clearly they had trained their front desk staff to look for this kind of opportunity, whether it was an anniversary or birthday or whatever. And it just made you feel so special, So it was great. Another thing that happened kind of on the other end of things is we like to go skiing in Ellicottville, New York, and we always stay at this one place, and or we often do, and been there many, many times, and they have a decent amount of turnover at the front desk. I've seen lots of people working there, and lots of young people, and at one point we had just spent the weekend there, and we were driving away, and we were maybe like 45 minutes in the car already. It's a 2.5-hour drive, and the phone rings, and it's this place and this hotel, and they said, when you checked in, there was a coffee maker in your room, and it's not there anymore. We're going to have to charge you $50, and because it's missing. And I said, "Well, I didn't take the coffee maker. Are you sure? We didn't even make coffee," because they actually have Starbucks in their lobby that's like free. So I went down there and got it, and the coffee maker is just like some other brand, So I was like, "Oh, I'll go get Starbucks and have someone make it for me." So I didn't use it, And she just kept insisting that it had been there, and they were going to have to charge me. And I'm like, I don't want your coffee maker. It's this little tiny thing. I'm like, I make coffee in a French press at home. I don't even use a brewed coffee maker. I don't usually, when I stay somewhere that has one, I have to ask my husband how much coffee to add, because I don't even know how they work hardly, because I don't use one. So I'm like, I certainly didn't take it. She just kept going and going on and on about this. And I said, we come there all the time. We love it. We always leave a big tip for the housekeeper. We would never steal anything, ever. A pillow, nothing, And so anyway, we eventually hung up, and I'm talking to my husband. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how weird. Like, I have this bad feeling, that here we love this place, and they're like accusing us of stealing this little dinky coffee maker." And so he and I were talking. I thought, well, maybe, there's a table and then 2 chairs, a little table, and it's on there when you check in. I said, maybe, to make space, because we don't use it, I put it on top of the TV on the armoire. And so I decided to call back and, suggest that. So I asked for her, and they said, "Oh, she's busy right now," or whatever. And I said, "Okay, well, I'm calling back because of this, and maybe it's on the armoire." And she said, "Oh, actually, this is the manager speaking, and we just got the report back from housekeeping, and there wasn't a coffee maker in there. They didn't check that there was in there. It was broken or whatever, and it wasn't put in your room. So don't worry about that. It's all good. You don't, And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Great. And I said, "Well, you might want to, talk to your staff and like make sure that, they take a look at this guest's, the whole profile and what they're saying. And, there's some point where you're not going to just keep going down that road of accusing someone. They might never come back." She said, yes, I understand. And then actually probably about a month later, I did get $100 gift certificate in the mail, which definitely kind of helped sort of ease things. There wasn't a note or anything with it. I think it would have been a little better if they had just said, we really value your business, thank you for staying with us, or anything. But there was the $100 gift certificate, so it was good. But I was like, wow, what an experience, because there was that such roller coaster up and down of just feeling like, wow, they really think we stole something, And the other thing I would just say in general, I see so many service hiccups when I'm traveling or eating out or whatever. And I often give feedback either on a comment card or if there's a survey to fill out. I really want to see, especially businesses that I like, I want to see them be their best. But I notice a lot of times people really they don't really want the feedback. They don't want to hear it. They're very defensive about it. And if you just look at feedback as a gift, that is going to be these free ideas that are going to make you be your best. You might as well get it from your users. I mean, some people pay for this stuff, in focus groups or whatever. So here's a problem, and you can use this opportunity to make yourself better instead of being defensive about it. And the other thing is that I learned in my very first job at Four Seasons, the art of the apology, which I swear is a lost art these days. People just do not want to apologize because they would, that would be accepting blame, and they don't want to accept any blame because then it's going to look like they're a bad business, when all you have to do is just say, I apologize that you had to wait so long. I apologize that you were inconvenienced. I apologize that you feel that way. I apologize that we let you down today. It's unacceptable. We're going to take care. And I want to know that there's going to be somebody that's going to address it to make it not happen again. So I usually, when I'm in that situation, there's the apology. There's also the kind of like heartfelt, like, this isn't normally how we do things. This isn't what we believe in. This isn't what we want for you. And then here's how we're going to prevent it next time. I had a flight canceled in February to go out to Colorado, and there's all kinds of money riding on these things, right? Like you've got an Airbnb booked or whatever and ski tickets, and then they just cancel the flight and they're like, you're going to go in 24 hours. We canceled all flights. There's no way to get you there. I don't even think they apologized. Now, I know the airlines have had a really tough time. I totally understand, but that little tiny few words would just like cushion that blow, because it's really rough when you've got all your plans together. And, I think just letting that sink in and letting that customer down really softly is just so important. So my staff knows that they should say, thanks for waiting. I'm sorry. We didn't notice you were there. You were so quiet. I didn't see you at the register. I'm so sorry. And they say, oh, no, it's okay, and we move on. But there's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry.
Very true. Sarah, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I don't have any very specific examples, but I would like to highlight much to what Dewi said about the first experience where she felt heard and seen in her particular vacation experience, by just receiving a complimentary gift of something that was important to them. I would like to just mention that there's a local business here in Lansing who I feel like does that every time I go in with my kids, and it's very small gestures, something as little as like, recognizing that we just sat down and there's, there are 10 tickets deep on their rail. Food's going to be a little while. I've got 2 boys. They'll send out sliced apples, like 1 apple in a beautiful arrangement of slices. And my kids feel thrilled. Thrilled to eat the apple, thrilled that somebody took the time to slice it and arrange it beautifully on a plate, and thrilled that there's something to put in their mouth while they're waiting for their meal. And I think those little things, just trying to see people where they are, what they're looking for, and do your best to meet that, even if it's just with a really small and inexpensive gesture, goes a really long way and feels really good to be seen, as a human being, as an individual. And then in terms of negative experiences that have informed me, just like Dewi said, accepting accountability when that's appropriate, and offering, solutions that are that feel, again, like the person is being seen. Sometimes in our industry, it's just a matter of misaligned expectations. And so I try to spend a lot of time making sure that my staff, when there's a big wait on pizza, on a Friday night, that they're saying that, pizza's going to be 40 minutes, pizza's going to be 45 minutes, so that people know going into it. If you've got two hungry kids that were hungry an hour ago and you just showed up and you're going to have to wait another hour, if we can manage your expectation, if it's not a good fit for you tonight on a Friday night, that's fine. Grab a beer and then go up the road to the next place, and we are happy for you to do that, so that we can be sure that we're meeting your expectations. And I think that those two things kind of go hand in hand, and we try to just be really honest about, look, we're 3 people here tonight in the kitchen, and we're cranking out as fast as we can, and this is going to be your wait time, and then making sure that that feels comfortable for them. So that's kind of an approach that we take.
Thank you so much. Really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this conversation.
Thank you, Sarah.
Such a great
Thank
time.
you.
And there is, Carly, maybe you have that information, but there is a happy hour on Friday to conclude Workforce Week.
Yeah, it's gonna be at Liquid State. Yeah.
Yay.
And also featuring Silo Food Truck, of course. So we hope that you can all make it. No need to register. We're glad if you do, just so we can get an idea of who's coming and have a name tag for you, maybe too. But we hope to see you there, and maybe at any of the other sessions this week too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
all.
Thank you,
day.
Aaron and Carly. Thanks for hosting.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have
for
a great
joining us,
day.
everyone.
Thanks. You too.